learned the entire cello part for canon in D. Hi, I'm Miss Kosh. I wanted to sit down and talk with you a little bit about math and about music and about the importance of practice. It is the end of June. We've got about a month, almost a month and a half before school starts up again. And in an attempt to kind of calm my own fears and excitement and worries and whatever about this coming school year. Will we be on campus? Will we have to do this through Zoom? Will we? I don't know what this next year is going to look like, but I do know what you need to do to learn math, and just like what you might need to do to learn a musical instrument or to learn to play a sport well. So I want to talk today about practice. So I have been teaching math for 20 years, and I've been trying to learn the cello even longer than that. And in the past 20 years of teaching math, I have convinced or attempted to convince many students and actually convince many colleagues the importance of practice in mathematics. So I have a few philosophies that it comes to how to practice and how to practice well and why we should practice. And I want to tie math and music, in particular my experience playing the cello, together. So first of all, practice needs to be, number one, practice needs to be intentional. Okay, so I have to know myself. I have to know what I'm weak at. I have to know where my struggles are. I need to know where my abilities are, where my strengths and where my weaknesses may lie. So with the cello, you may notice that there's, it's not like a guitar, there's no frets. Like I can, okay, sorry, I didn't. So, the way this, I have to figure out where exactly, I don't know why I picked that scale. Okay, I have to know exactly where my fingers go, and I learned that's a better scale. I have to know exactly where to put my fingers, and I can only get there and learn that skill by practice. Okay, you play it over and over again. You look, you put little pieces of tape on there when you're first starting, and the same thing with math, that you have to. Well, let me say, so after years of practice, it becomes automatic. It becomes automatic. Hopefully I'm sort of in tune. I apologize to the real musicians out there. This is not my day job, and I haven't really played much during this quarantine. So we had our last concert in March, and now it's the end of June, and I think I've played once since then. So my bad. So in order to practice, it needs to be your practice should be intentional. I need to figure out my weaknesses. Sometimes we need to go, I can't think of a good example, but I'll practice times where I need to shift. So I'll do that jump. And I'll do it over, and I probably wasn't in tune, I apologize. But I'll do, if that little jump shows up as part of my music, I'll practice that over and over and over again. Okay. Likewise, in math, there's certain skills that need to become automated. For example, using the quadratic formula. By the time you get into pre-cal and IB math, and then even beyond that into college and stuff and such, the quadratic formula should not be something that slows you down. If you need to use it, you plug it in and you go. But in order for that to happen, you have to have practiced it so much that you know exactly where your fingers go, and you don't even have to think about it. Okay? You know exactly how to use that quadratic formula. You've done it enough times to know when to use it, how to use it, what to plug in. It doesn't slow you down in the slightest. What happens, though, if I only play the parts where I'm strong? There have been pieces in orchestra where, like, before a concert, we have a few minutes to warm up, and I'm trying to just warm up my fingers and whatever, and I learned this in high school. It's part of something from the Civil War, and I loved it, and I thought it was so beautiful. And I find myself 25 years later still playing that because I like it. Well, that's fine, but it doesn't help me get better at the things that I really need to learn. So how does that relate in math? Well, in math, you can, there's different online resources that might help you figure out your weakness. Sometimes you know what your weaknesses are. You know, I hate fractions. Miss Gosh, don't make me. Yes, you have to work with fractions. Okay, especially when we get into pre-cal and we get into some of the trig and we see that in IB. If you can't add fractions, it's a problem. Okay, so then there's resources that you can find online that help strengthen that weakness. So don't admit or don't what's the right word? You can admit your mistakes, but don't be content to stay there. Okay, so figure out where you need to improve, what you need to do better at, and then get the practice that you need to get to improve in that area. So you can ask me for help. You can go online for help. Khan Academy has a great job, doing those different resources and helping you find those weaknesses and then getting them better. I remember when there was a topic in IB that I had to teach in the statistics unit that I had never taught before. And so I went to Coach Kemp and I said, okay, Coach Kemp, explain this to me. So he went through this whole topic and explained it to me. And I was like, okay, so are you saying, and I tried to explain it back to him and he's like, no, that's not right. And I was like, oh, okay, tell me one more time. And so we had to work through this several times. I had to, as a teacher, go seek help and had to find the support that I needed to learn that concept so that I could then turn it around and teach my kids. Now, the first few years of teaching that concept, it was a little rough. I owe those kids an apology. But since then, I have done enough problems I have practiced enough problems that I get it, and I can explain that in a much more clear, concise, and hopefully articulate way to my kids. Let's see. Another thing about intentional practice is I need to compare myself to me. Okay, I need to compare myself to who I was yesterday or who I want to be tomorrow and figure out how to get there. How have I improved from who I was yesterday? How have I become a better musician since yesterday, and that sort of thing. Same thing with math. I like to give what I call fuzzy assignments that I may say, okay, in problems 1 through 10, you do what you need to do so that you're good at it. Okay, if there's 10 problems that get a little repetitive, if you do the 2 hardest ones and you're fine, then move on. But if you find that it's something that you're not quite as skilled at yet, then you need to go through and you don't need to worry about what your neighbor's doing. You need to do what you need to do so that you acquire the practice that you need so that you've got those skills. Next thing, so that was intentional practice. So yes, know your weaknesses, figure out what you need help with, be intentional about what you're doing, and compare yourself to yourself. Okay. The second thing is focused practice. And I don't know if you've had an opportunity to kind of get in the zone, but it's fantastic. So like I will find sometimes I'm in the middle of a math problem and I have cut out the rest of the world. I have zoned them out. I am totally focused in on that particular problem. There's a flow going. I've got it. It's gorgeous. Okay. I've done that musically. I remember performing Handel's Messiah and just being like, feeling like I was soaring above the audience, So getting to be totally present to what's going on. And the biggest way to prevent focus practice is to be distracted, especially with your phone. Okay, so if you need a phone to have you have music that you like to listen to that doesn't, for me, I can't listen to music that demands my attention while I'm trying to think. Okay, so I can't do words with words. So if there's words in my music, I can't read as well. Or sometimes there is classical music that'll demand my attention, and I can't think about whatever I'm trying to accomplish while I'm listening to it. But you can figure it. But there is music that'll work sometimes for certain people. Okay, so if you need that music, put your earbuds in, put your phone away. Okay, set it aside. Put it on Do Not Disturb or whatever, so that you don't get those interruptions, so you can get into the zone. And this also gives you a chance to let your subconscious work on some of these problems. Sometimes we think we can learn math overnight, that the test is tomorrow and I'm going to do the whole unit and here we go. The higher you get in math, the less likely you are to be able to be successful doing that. Okay, so maybe you've discovered in Algebra 1 you couldn't do that sort of thing. Maybe it was you've been able to kind of coast along and practice a bit at the last minute and then walk in and get 100 on the test. Congrats. At some point, I am convinced that everybody hits a wall in math and they have to figure out how to push through it. So I tell a story about one of my one of my students from a few years ago, I still remember his name. His name is Federico, and he had a twin brother named Francesco. And I had given him a pretty open-ended problem. And he and his group were sitting there, and they were working, and they were working, and they were working, and they didn't really get anywhere. And the next morning, he tells me, he comes in, and before class even starts, he and his group are up on the board. They're solving the problem. He's talking them through it. Some other groups have come over there. They're standing there watching. They're figuring this all out together. And he tells me, Miss Kosh, I figured it out, and I woke up and I knew what to do. And I don't think it was just a fluke. I think that his brain needed time to process that. And if you try and wait till the very last minute to learn something, one, if you learn it, you're going to dump it pretty quick because you didn't gain it that well. But two, you're not giving your brain the opportunity to really seek out or to work and to gain that material. I experienced this myself this past year. The IB curriculum changed, and there was a topic or two, especially for my higher level kids, that was brand new to me, brand new. And so I had to go through, and I worked every textbook problem. So sorry, pre-cal, at this point, I don't work your problems. I mean, I work some here and there, whatever, but like, I needed to, before I could even try to teach this stuff to my HL kids, I had to go to the book and work every single problem I could find. Then I went online and found a few more problems. And I was able to get the right answer, but I didn't understand why behind part of it. But I was working, and I was working, and I was working. And then I remember I had taught all day. I went home, ate dinner. I had rehearsal that night. I played cello in an orchestra. I had rehearsal that night. I go to rehearsal. I play my cello for 2 hours with this ensemble. We're working hard at challenging music. I get in the car to drive home, and all of a sudden, the why behind the mathematics that I was trying to teach became clear to me. So I had given my brain a chance. I had done the work and then let my brain kind of simmer in that, and then it helped me understand, and then I could go home and I could go back to school the next day and explain the why behind that concept. Okay, so intentional practice, focused practice. The third thing that I want to talk about is a guided practice. Okay, so your goal is to learn to behave, to learn to think like the experts. Okay, so as a cellist, I want to listen to professional musicians. I am well aware I am not a professional musician. I like to say, well, I play in an orchestra where it's a volunteer orchestra, and then there's 2 other orchestras in our program, assuming that COVID lets us play again. But those 2 orchestras are teaching orchestras, and so there's a fee to be part of it. Well, my orchestra, I like to say I'm good enough that I don't have to pay them, but I'm not good enough for them to pay me. Okay, so if I want to get better, which I should want to, and I need to practice more and that sort of thing. I need to listen to the experts. I need to listen to them performing. I need to watch. So I like to watch different YouTube channels where some of them are just listening to the music. Sometimes I'll listen to the symphony that we're getting ready to perform to get it in my ear. Sometimes I'll listen to cellists give lessons, and they're like, okay, and here's how you need to do your bow technique, and here's how you should think about shifting. And so I need to listen to those experts. In the math classroom, what does that mean? Well, that means listening to what the expert, in this case, that's me, your teacher, tells you to listen to think through, okay, how did she think through this problem? What were her steps and her strategies? It means using my answer keys. That I am a big believer in giving you access to my answer keys. I want you to see how I think through things. But that means you need to use it as a tool, not as a crutch. Okay, so if all you do is copy all my work, you're not going to learn it. Okay, you need to get in, you need to get your hands dirty, you need to get it figured out. But when you get stuck, or when you finish and you want to go check your work, you want to see, okay, I thought about it like this. What did Miss Kosh do? Okay, she did it. Oh, that was very interesting. And you can learn a lot by watching how the expert. I know enough math to know I'm a math teacher, not a mathematician, but I've been doing it for 20 years, so it does help, and I do have some expertise that I hope to teach to you. So you can use that as a way to kind of figure out how do the experts in that field think. The last thing I'm going to say is that practice makes permanent, not perfect. Okay, so like if I play. Instead of, that was Twinkle Twinkle, or I was, would be the correct notes, but I played. wrong. Okay, that's wrong note. So if I do that over and over and over again, I'm gonna think that that's how the song goes, and it's not. Okay, silly example, but I can train. I don't want to train my hands, my ear to accept the wrong thing. Okay, so I don't want to practice it over and over again and do it incorrectly. I want to practice the right thing so that practice really does make perfect. Okay. Let's see. I think that's all I wanted to tell you about practice. I can't wait to meet this class. I'm really excited, a little bit nervous. We're gonna be great. It's gonna be fine. We're gonna get it figured out. I'm gonna do my best, and if you do your best, you're gonna learn a lot. So good luck to you. Enjoy the rest of your summer. Well, you were not watching this video probably till the fall, but I'm thinking about you already in June. Okay, so hang in there, do the best you can, and I'll be here to cheer you on, support you, and do everything I can to help this be a successful year. Okay.